I never imagined I'd end up in a showdown with the Homeowners Association of Crestwood Heights, but sometimes life throws you into battles you didn't see coming. My name's Ethan Carter, and 6 months ago, I was just another guy with a steady job at Horizon Tech, a software firm where I'd clocked 8 solid years. I had a nice office, decent benefits, and a 401k that was creeping upward. Then the company merged, and workforce optimization hit me like a freight train. 27% of us got the boot, me included. The severance was fair, 3 months' pay and some health coverage, but the job market was brutal. After weeks of resumes and networking events that led nowhere, I knew I had to pivot. I'd always loved woodworking, a hobby I picked up in college to unwind. During those jobless months, I started spending more time in my garage, crafting things like walnut serving trays and cherrywood jewelry boxes. My sister-in-law, Emily, saw one of my pieces and said, "Ethan, these are gorgeous. People would pay real money for this stuff." I brushed it off at first, still chasing the dream of another corporate gig. But as my SAVYNGS dwindled and rejection emails piled up, I thought, why not? I launched an Etsy shop called Timbercraft Creations and set up some social media to show off my work. To my surprise, orders started rolling in cutting boards, wall art, even custom dining tables. My garage turned into a full-on workshop, with better tools and a little shipping station in the corner. For the first time since the layoff, I felt like I had a purpose again. My neighbors on Sycamore Lane were mostly cool about it. Mrs. Larson, the retired librarian next door, would bring me iced tea when she heard my saw buzzing. The Thompsons across the street ordered a table that got me referrals from their cousins. I kept my work to reasonable hours, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., and the only sign of my business was the occasional UPS truck. Crestwood Heights was a fancy gated community, 126 homes built around 2005, full of doctors, lawyers, and execs who liked their manicured lawns and secure entrance. When my wife, Sarah, and I bought our place 4 years ago, we grumbled about the due law 1,800 annual HOA dues, but figured the pool and tennis courts made it worthwhile. The HOA rules were intense approved paint colors, no garden gnomes over a foot tall, but we'd never had issues. Until that October morning. I was packing an order when the doorbell rang. A courier handed me an envelope with the Crestwood Heights HOA logo. Inside was a cease and desist letter, cold and formal. "Dear Mr. Ethan Carter," it read, "it has come to the attention of the Crestwood Heights Homeowners Association that you are operating a commercial enterprise at 32 Sycamore Lane, in violation of Section 8.3, which prohibits business activities generating customer or delivery traffic." My stomach dropped. The letter, signed by Victoria Langley, the HOA president, threatened due law 1,000 daily fines and a lien on our house if I didn't shut down within a week. Victoria's signature had this smug, loopy flourish that screamed superiority. I called Sarah, who was on her nursing shift at the hospital. "Can they do this?" I asked, pacing. "I'm not bothering anyone. It's just woodworking." Sarah sighed. "The HOA's got a lot of power, Ethan. Remember when they made the Lopez's take down their basketball hoop? But this feels personal. Maybe talk to someone else on the board. Greg Thompson's reasonable." I dug into the HOA bylaws, hoping for a loophole, but the rules were clear. My workshop was technically a violation. So were Mrs. Larson's piano lessons and Dr. Patel's telehealth practice, but they weren't getting letters. Something smelled rotten. The next day, I took a walk to clear my head and passed Victoria's massive colonial house on Magnolia Drive. She pulled out in her sleek Porsche SUV, her blonde bob perfect as always. Victoria was in her 50s, always decked out in designer gear, married to a big-shot tax attorney named Charles. She'd been HOA president for 3 terms, unchallenged because nobody wanted to tangle with her. She called herself a homemaker, but her lifestyle, new cars, $1,000 handbags felt like more than her husband's paycheck could cover. That night, Sarah and I crunched numbers. "We've got 4 months of SAVYNGS if we're careful," she said. "Your business is almost matching your old salary. We can't just stop." I nodded. Then we fight. Our neighbor, Walter Gray, a 78-year-old retired judge, tipped me off about Victoria's power trips. She tried to find the Kims for their kids' swing set last month, he said over coffee. She's picky about who she targets. Ever notice she ignores certain violations, like Tom Reed's plumbing vans or her friend Lisa's yard sales? Walter's words stuck with me. I started snapping photos of other rule breakers. Dr. Patel's office sign, a kid washing cars for cash. Then I spotted a black Cadillac Escalade creeping past our house, circling twice before parking across the street. It wasn't Victoria's Porsche, but it felt like a warning. A handwritten note in our mailbox confirmed my fears. Board meeting tomorrow, 7 p.m., Community Center. Come prepared. VL. The official meetings were 2 weeks away, so why the secret summit? I called Greg, the HOA treasurer, who sounded confused. No meeting tomorrow, Ethan. Monica's pulling something unofficial. She's got dirt on half the board. Be careful. The next night, I walked into the community center, a quiet building by the pool. Only 5 cars were in the lot: Victoria's Porsche, the Escalade, and 3 others I recognized as board members. Inside, Victoria sat at a conference table with her lackeys Ron Baker, the VP, Susan Miles, the secretary, and 2 others, including a guy in a suit who wasn't a resident. Mr. Carter, Victoria said, her voice like ice. Glad you could make it. She tapped a folder claiming my business violated the rules. I fired back. My deliveries are minimal. The Millers get Amazon packages daily. Are they in trouble too? Her eyes narrowed. The suit, introduced as their attorney, de Vyd Voss, threatened liens and foreclosure. I pointed out other home businesses, like Dr. Patel's, but Victoria dismissed them. Then she hit me with a due law 500 weekly fine. That's outrageous, I snapped. Ron looked uneasy, but nobody budged. When I asked to record the meeting, Victoria slammed her folder shut and stormed out. Susan whispered, I'm sorry, as she left. Walter was waiting outside. That was aggressive, even for Victoria, he said. Her house is worth due law 1.2 million, Ethan. Her husband's good, but not so good. As we talked, Victoria exited with the suit, who handed her an envelope she tucked away fast. That's not our usual attorney, Walter noted. The Escalade followed her out. Back home, an official notice confirmed the due law 500 fine. Sarah was Vyd. This is harassment. We need to find out what she's hiding. I cited Greg, who admitted the fine was unapproved and pointed me to VC Consulting, a company Victoria paid due law $60,000 to with no clear purpose. He slipped me a USB with financial records warning. She's creative with the books. Those records showed sketchy transfers to a legal defense fund and a due law $15,000 enforcement consultation, right before my letter. Late that night, I caught the Escalade idling outside again. I snapped photos of its plate, texting Walter. Found something. Talk tomorrow. His reply chilled me. Be careful. These waters run deep. The next morning, I tracked Victoria's routine. She left at 7:15 a.m. and returned by 3:30 p.m. daily. Where was a homemaker, going for 8 hours? Walter brought news. The Escalade was registered to Langley's Security Consulting, tied to Victoria, not her husband. I drove to their downtown office, listed as VC Consulting, not Langley Security. The puzzle was growing. Sarah and I recruited allies, starting with Susan, who admitted Victoria controlled financial records and let some violations slide after private meetings. She showed us a photo from Victoria's office, a whiteboard with addresses and schedules, including other neighborhoods. Victoria's push against security cameras while Havying her own screamed cover-up. We mapped her enforcement at targeted homes near her property, creating a buffer zone. I staked out her house from a public trail, spotting deliveries to her garage, boxes, a photography setup, and Charles handing off an envelope. This wasn't just HOA nonsense, it looked criminal. When Walter found VC had an import license for Decorative goods. It clicked. Victoria was running a counterfeit luxury goods operation. My workshop, with its street VYEW, threatened her secrecy. During a power outage, Sarah and I saw her garage packed with fake designer bags and clothes. Then Sarah texted, Charles was in the hospital for surgery. That night, I caught Victoria herself handling a delivery of Chinese labeled boxes, one open with handbags inside. We had her. But the Escalade showed up again, and a man approached our door. I locked up, sent RUVY Denke to secure emails, and called Walter. Victoria arrived, spoke to the driver, and left a warning. Walter's FBI contact was already on the case, but we needed to act fast. We called an emergency HOA meeting with 7 signatures, dodging Victoria's attempt to ban me. Hours before, we blanketed the neighborhood with flyers about her financial schemes. The community center was packed, 80 residents buzzing. Victoria tried to shut it down, but Greg and Susan held firm. I presented everything: VC's fake contracts, Dula $175,000 in shady payments, Victoria's selective enforcement. The room exploded when I revealed my Dula $750 fine was unapproved. Neighbors like Mrs. Larson defended me, and Ron, her ally, flipped, admitting she'd bypassed their real attorney. As Victoria tried to adjourn, FBI agents walked in. Monica Langley, we need to talk about counterfeiting and fraud, one said, flashing a badge. Her face crumpled as they led her out, warrant in hand. The fallout was swift. Agents found a Dula $3 million counterfeiting ring in Victoria's basement, with fake bags, watches, and clothes. Charles faced charges too. The HOA reformed under Greg and Susan, passing rules to allow home businesses like mine. Timbercraft boomed, and I built a showroom in my garage. At a neighborhood picnic, Walter grinned. Not bad for a laid-off woodworker. Sarah laughed. They want you on the security committee now. Crestwood Heights became a real community again, free from Victoria's shadow. Fighting for my workshop gave me more than a business, it gave me a home.